Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 608 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Karin Drummond, and we talked about long-term chiropractic care and preventing injury for the chiropractor. If you want to listen to the full episode, stay tuned. Welcome back. Episode 608, Karin Drummond. Frozen tundra of Indiana today, right?
Yeah, it's like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. Ugh.
Well, good news is this episode will be released in about 9 months. So by that time, we might have frozen tundra again in September.
Or that Indian summer, hopefully.
Well, I'm going to let everybody know the big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? And then we'll get into topics of preventing injury and how anybody can be a chiro if they take care of their bodies. And I think it's really important. But it's not just body. It's the triune, physical, chemical, emotional. And that takes a lot of, nurturing and maturing with. So we'll talk about that. And Dr. Karin was on just under 1 year ago. So I'm excited to have you back on for a follow-up here. And if anybody's looking to associate, if you guys are watching this live in Indiana, reach out to either myself or Dr. Karin. She's looking for somebody that is talented and wants to join her practice. But
thank you for that plug.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some people digitally knocking on your door saying, hey, Dr. Karin, after listening to this episode, I want to come work with you. Chiro Hustle, freedom of speech. It's very important to us. It's something that should be important to you, the listener or viewer also. I'm sure it's important to Dr. Karin also. That's why we do this show. We believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. If you don't know what that is, reach out to a chiropractor. They'll help you out. I believe that chiropractic is the last piece on the chessboard between medical freedom and medical tyranny. So thank you, chiropractors, for doing what you do, protecting the sacred trust. If you guys don't know what the sacred trust is, it's BJ Palmer's last words. Check the show notes. It's always in there. If you guys want to know more about BJ Palmer and BJ Palmer Sacred Trust, it's why chiropractors do what they do. We support subluxation centered and subluxation based chiropractic also. I know I shouldn't have to say that, but they're removing the stuff from the schools. So if you're a chiropractic student and you watch this, send us a message of, if they're teaching subluxation on your campus. If not, share the show. Share this show with your friends that are that need chiropractic philosophy. We also believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. I know I shouldn't have to tell this stuff, but I listen to Fred Barge and I read Sid Williams stuff, and they'd be really proud of me like packing this in. So that's why we do it. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. Dr. Karin, welcome.
Thank you. I love that introduction. And also thank you for providing this platform for chiropractors to share their experience with the next generation. I know I really appreciated my mentors, and I'd rather learn from them than the school of hard knocks. And I'm really excited to share the tips I've learned along the last 24 years.
Well, let's timeline these people. How did we get to where we are today? Talk a little bit about like the origin story and what are you up to today?
And I'll try to do a shorter version because I've been on this podcast before and I did the long version then, but basically, as far back as I remember, I wanted to be a doctor, and then I became a patient, and I realized medical doctors, the way they treat the body was really symptom based and not wellness based, and it didn't really work for me. And actually, truth be told, it almost killed me. And when I got into the chiropractic world, it was a game changer. It just made complete sense to me, and I'm so grateful I became a chiropractor, especially since I did have legit concerns. I am a smaller framed female, and chiropractic is a very physically intense practice. And I was grateful for my mentors that taught me tricks to avoid injury and to be able to practice hopefully all the way to retirement.
So let's talk about that. Practicing as a smaller person,
Mhm.
and what are some of the strategic, I guess, plan that you had to lay out for yourself physically to be able to have longevity as a practicing chiropractor, hands-on?
Yeah, I have a whole list. It starts all the way down to the feet, making sure you wear comfortable shoes. I cringe every time I see a chiropractor in high heels. It is not healthy for anybody, especially somebody who is on their feet all day and doing thrusts and pulls. I also, there's a whole barefoot movement, but our bodies were not designed to be on hard, flat surfaces. So I'm a big fan of inserts that support your arches softly. You don't want to be rigidly holding your arches up, because that'd be like replacing a flat tire with a wooden one. We're race cars. We want rubber tires. So lots of cushion, maybe putting a mat down and areas you stand a lot on. And because we stand a lot and then we sit down and do our notes, well, I personally stand when I do mine, but compression socks are really important, because if you're standing all day and then having periods of sitting for extended periods of time, that's going to tax the lymphatic system and the venous return. You're at increased risk of varicosities and swelling. So, and with compression socks, it's important that you don't have them cutting off at the knee, because you have lymph nodes there and it can become very tender. So I like either full on hose or socks that don't cut off right below the knees. And so I think I got my little notes here. That's the stuff that I do just for feet alone. Want to go to the next area?
Well, yeah, let's go to the next area, but I'm going to touch on that thing is like,
Yeah.
I've never worn a compression sock in my life.
You sit a lot. How are your legs?
I don't know. I think they're fine.
Yeah.
I average about 4 miles of walking a day.
Well, that helps. And also you travel a lot though too. So maybe at least wear them when you're on the plane, because that puts a lot of pressure on your lower extremities.
What brand do you like?
There are ones for nurses. Copper Fits are the ones I use. They're not overly compressive, because if you're not too unhealthy, then you don't have to worry about the really extreme ones that are designed to get the fluids out of the lower extremities from damaged vessels, but at least some compression to combat that chronic strain. I mean, our bodies were not designed to sit for hours on end. And we need that body to move to help the lymph flow back up, all the way up to that subclavicular vein. That's where it dumps back into the bloodstream. That's a long way for that fluid to flow against gravity without movement.
Copper Fit. Shout out to you guys for making the compression socks.
Yeah. And I'm not affiliate for anything. So if I buy something, it's because I personally use it.
Yeah, I like that. So let's next topic.
Okay, then on to the back. So especially fresh out of school, I notice a lot of chiropractors prefer the lower tables, because you can get on top of the patient more and use more of your body weight to get things moving. But that's really hard on your own spine. And also when you're fresh out of school and if you're opening up your own practice, you want to save money. So I know I was guilty. I used my little table that I had since school for the first few years, because you got to save where you can. But the first thing I bought when I had enough money for my clinic was an elevation table. That way I can raise it up to help my own posture while I'm working on people's muscles, and then lower it down when I needed to have that more strength. And then after another decade or two of that, I even got a higher table that raised even higher. And I've learned how to adjust at a higher elevation, just so I don't have to bend over all the time. And with that also, strengthening your core is critical. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So every day I work out my core. You had a question? I saw you pause.
No, I was thinking, like, I was curious, like, your posture. How do you keep your posture strong? Because you're talking about like modifying the table for your practice type.
Mhm.
But what do you recommend to people to keep their posture strong? Because even chiropractors are using technology a lot.
So if the question is if you to help yourself hold your own posture, is that what your question is?
Yeah, like for me, I lay on a thoracic and a lumbar, not thoracic, a thoracic and a cervical dinner roll for
Oh yeah.
10 minutes a day.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So keeping the flexibility alive. I do back bends every day. I do wheel pose every day. That's the first thing I do when I get out of bed. I do a spinal twist to limber up my spine and then do a back bend, because all day long I flex over people. Or when you're doing the dishes or doing gardening, I mean, every activity of daily living typically involves flexion. So I pose it with back bends. It could even be, if you can't do a wheel pose, that's fine. But I love that you use a foam roller, or like the McKenzie protocol where you're doing upward dog type stretches. But another thing too is working out the rhomboids. So many people have overdeveloped traps, and that just brings everything forward, and a weak core, so they just slump down into it. So to keep my rhomboid strong, you can use straps and do rows. I prefer to do pull-ups. So I have a pull-up bar in my living room, and I do pull-ups and chin-ups every day, because every day I'm pushing more than I'm pulling. So I want to strengthen those opposing muscle groups. And
so what it sounds like is you have to have things that are of easy access to you in order to do them regularly.
Absolutely. What I tell my patients is, as seen on TV, the pull-up bars that you put in the door frame, put that in your master bathroom. That way, every time you have to go to the bathroom, that you're reminded, at least try to do one chin up. You can cheat and use straps, whatever, but just get it done. Because if you don't, you got to do it a little bit every day.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what's next on the list? I'm curious.
Okay. Oh, and again, for female chiropractors, especially after having a baby and you're first returning to work, your SI joints are a little more hypermobile after the delivery. So wearing an SI belt to stabilize that pelvis for the first month or two of adjusting again, or any kind of SI joint sprain. I mean, if you've been in a car accident, anything like that, cinch up the pelvis, because again, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and your SI joints won't heal if you jump on people all day.
Yeah, I've scheduled so many people in as new patients, and when I talk to people, I can't tell you how many times people are just like numbness and tingling in their lower, their legs,
like sciatica.
Yeah. Well, just different stuff, like symptoms like travel. And I tell people this all the time: if you don't do something about it, it's not just going to like magically get better on its own. Like nothing ever gets better on its own. Just like when you don't like do anything for it.
Right.
Like you have to be proactive and you have to find solutions to this stuff. Otherwise, the aging process is real.
Oh yeah. And it's not, and I tell people it's not your age. It's the only thing that has to do with age is as we get older, we heal slower. So when you're young, you fall and, bust up your arm or whatever, and you're healed within like seconds. But if you bump your arm in your 50s, you bruise, and that stays a little longer. So it's more important as we get older to heal ourselves faster than we hurt ourselves. And that window gets longer and longer as we get older. And they think, oh, I'm just getting older. No, you're not. You can't rely on your body to heal faster than you. Now you have to help it heal faster than you hurt it.
Well, the other thing we were talking about off camera too is like if you're not like eating like real food, your body doesn't heal faster. If you're not drinking great filtered water, your body doesn't heal faster. If you're not doing like the building blocks of just like getting good quality nutrients in your body doesn't heal faster. So as you get older and you're deficient and you're not eating good, healthy building blocks, the body definitely doesn't heal faster.
Exactly. And don't forget sleep. It's sleep well, move well, eat well. It's that simple.
Yeah. That's the other part of what people, they're always staying up too late. I see it all the time. People stay up too late and they're off of the circadian rhythm. And then when they're supposed to like be waking up is like 10 o'clock or noon, and they woke up at like 6 a.m.
Artificially with an alarm clock. Beep, beep, beep. And I love those alarm clocks that slowly light up the room and slowly bring music in or something, because that's how we're designed to wake up, is with the rising sun. That doesn't just go beep, beep at us to say, wake up.
Yeah. It's very rarely that I allow myself to get woken up by that sound, but
Mhm.
it depends what program I'm on at the time. Sometimes I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Sometimes I have to wake up at 6 in the morning. Sometimes I have to wake up at 5 or 5:30. So my body just doesn't naturally wake up at that time of the day if I don't like, use some type of like, some device to say, hey, get up.
Mhm.
So
And if it's once in a while, I mean, thank goodness our bodies are very forgiving. It usually takes multiple times. And that's why people will come to me and say, I don't know what I did. I didn't do anything different. Well, then I look at their lifestyle and be like, well, because 10 years later, it's finally caught up with you.
well, this goes for chiropractors too,
Mhm.
longevity, quality of life. You have to take care of you if you're going to be taking care of more people. And I think that
Exactly.
that was a big premise of today's talk, is like preventing injury. Is like,
Mhm.
how do we do that? Make sure that we have like a good environment that we work in, make sure that we work out, and we're working on our bodies to where our bodies are stronger longer.
Right. Right. Oh, here's another
Well,
one. Here's another one for the low back that surprised me, but it made sense. Breathe out during the adjustment. Because when you're holding your breath, where's that pressure going to go? You got to breathe it out or you're going to blow out your back.
hmm.
So that's a
Yeah,
tip
that
specifically for.
that makes sense.
Yeah. But we'll move on to, I think I got everything for the back. So next is shoulders. The shoulders are more vulnerable when your elbows are farther away from your body. So keeping the elbow tucked in as much as possible during the adjustment, and changing up the different adjustment styles you do. Like, don't try to hammer everything in. Get different tools in your tool belt. And one, it's better for the patient anyway, because you're going to be catering the treatment more for the patient's needs instead of your own limitations. But also, if you're adjusting people in different ways, you're not, fraying the tendons doing the same movement over and over.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Chiro HD, Evo Creative Media, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now let's hustle. What's your take on anteriors, where you like put your hand behind somebody and you like rock back on them?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, you can learn to do it with a flat hand. Now you can see mine's kind of small, so I'm one of the guilty ones where I use it with the bent hand, and so far so good. But they have tools you can put in your hand to soften it so it's not so compacted on the joints. And also, what I do is, when I'm doing the adjustment, it's more of an up motion instead of a squish motion. So I think that's why my hand's done well with the supine move, because I'm not just crushing my hand. I'm just using it as a quick little impulse. I'm not just using the weight.
You think about it, and if somebody's like, just say, if they have like a really like average slow practice and they're seeing 20 people a day.
Yeah.
And they do that like over 20 times, 5 times a week. And then it increases to 100 times, 100 times, 5 times a week. And you think about like these little micro like moves that we're doing constantly, but we're getting someone else better, we think, by doing that same move the same way every time. But really it's like breaking the body down of the practitioner.
Right. And there are so many ways you can move any joint. There's so many ways. Like, I can't remember how many techniques I know now for every bone in the body, but I video myself and I'm like, wow, I do all these different things. It's interesting. So yeah, the more you can train yourself to be the best chiropractor you can be, your body will thank you.
So we've been to back and shoulders.
Yeah.
And feet.
Right.
We talked feet too.
Oh, but I'm not done with the shoulder too, because you got to strengthen those stabilizer muscles. Again, I like using exercise bands for that, because if you're strengthening your arms with dumbbells and not going through global movements, you're just strengthening a biceps tendon. Well, that might be imbalancing your shoulder, so that you'll blow out your shoulder because you have the strength in this muscle, but not in another muscle. So it's all about balance, especially with the shoulders.
And as you get older, if you're weight training, you got to make sure that you're taking care of the full shoulder capsule.
Exactly. Exactly. So I can't stress that enough. And as chiropractors, we should already know this, but sometimes we preach it, but don't practice it. So yeah. All right. So then for the hands, the wrists and fingers, thumbs, changing up your contact points, because some people, they're always adjusting this way, or they're always using their thumb or using their pisiform. Just keep mixing it up. Don't always do the same movement for the adjustments. Kind of, it goes, I think, for the back, the shoulder, the hands, it's all important.
And limit your text messages on the day too, guys.
Yeah. No promises on that one. And also, because not just chiropractic, but most activities of daily living require you to grip, right? Driving, holding your phone, cooking, whatever. So exercising the opposing muscle groups, I like to get a rubber band and just open them against resistance to keep that balance, because otherwise you get what I call, rock candy in your fingers, like just claw hands. If you want to be able to open up your hands so that when you rest, there's a more neutral position for the joints when can't stress that enough either. And then I think that's everything I got for the hand. Oh, and using tools like Graston, cupping, rapid release. The more tools you use for the muscle work, the more your hands will thank you.
Yeah, I think, for people that don't know Graston, it's a technique where you actually take a stainless steel tool and you run it over an area of tightness or fibrotic muscle tissue or somewhere in the body where it just seems inflamed. And it actually brings like an entourage effect of healing to the area, and causes little micro traumas within that area, and like actually gets the area healthier quicker, through an injury or through any type of recovery. Because I think a lot of people don't know what Graston is. If we just talk this to like a little group.
Right. What I like about Graston is when we have a trauma to a muscle, for example, and it knots up, your body just lays down fibers quickly to stabilize it. And then with our movements, activities of daily living, then the bad fibers that aren't in perfect alignment will tear up, and the ones that are in good alignment will stay. Well, sadly, especially in our modern day living, we don't do as much movement as we should. And these fibers that are laid down aberrantly get thicker. And that's when Graston comes in. You just break up the bad fibers, because you can Graston healthy tissue, nothing's going to happen. But when you get into that bad tissue, it turns all red, because you're causing this micro bleeding of these bad tissues, so that when it heals, you've gotten rid of all the bad tissue, leaving the good tissue. And also improves blood flow in and lymphatic drainage out, because bad tissue all knotted up is not conducive to flow.
Rehab techniques have come a long way.
Yeah, I love it. But what's funny is Graston's really a modern take on gua sha, which is an ancient Chinese technique where they'd use spoons and shells and all kinds of stuff to do it.
Bones,
seriously. Yeah, they would. Yeah.
Shiny rocks.
Just needs a beveled edge. That's all it needs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, should we move on to the neck?
We should.
Okay.
I think the neck is definitely an important part that a lot of people don't know how to like keep healthy long term.
Right.
Even some like extreme fighters that I listen to talk to Rogan, they're like, yeah, strong as everything except for my neck.
Right. And you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to talk to Joe Rogan, because I know he's not exactly a fan of chiropractic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot that people still have to have the flexibility to learn, and people have to have patience when it comes to how somebody learns something and how they build up their like reputation around a topic. I think that we can all have a little bit more humility with how we view other people and what they are into or what they're not into. I think that Rogan would, if he had the right kind of conversations around the campfire, like you're saying, with the right type of people, with the right like mindset to him, he's very reasonable.
Oh yeah, I love him. Yeah.
I think it would just take like the right type of influencers and the right type of like people to actually like say, look, man, let's revisit this.
Exactly. And I think he would, like you said, with the right people.
Yeah, I think it's don't kill the messenger type mentality.
Right.
But there is like a sensitivity, like if you could get the number one podcaster in the world to speak highly of this profession,
right?
If he's like so like in the zone to like tell the truth about everything else and let people like reveal the secrets behind whatever it is, any topic, you know,
Right. Absolutely.
it's about time we do settle the score with chiropractic.
All right. So we'll talk about the neck.
The neck.
All right. This is a big one for me too, because I shared in the last one, I was in that horrible car accident and it really busted up my neck. And so I became hyper aware of how adjusting is very taxing to the neck. And I had to take it to a whole nother level on the posture thing, because I noticed as I would adjust, my chin would come out a little bit. I would let that kind of fall forward. Well, when you let your chin jut out, it compresses the neck and causes more pressure on the discs. So I learned to really hyper keep that chin tuck in, and I keep that true today, because you got to keep this space alive for the discs in the neck, and that repetitive jar. It's like micro trauma over time. And then you wonder why you develop degenerative disc disease in your neck. And then also, again, with the posture, keeping the ears over the shoulders. You want to keep them in line with that plumb line. So it's that chin tuck, ears back during the adjustment. And I can see how if you're so concentrated in treating the patient that you kind of forget that about yourself. I hope this encourages you to, while you're adjusting people, really pay attention to yourself, not just what you're doing to the patient.
And your breath out as you're
and adjusting. Your breath out. Yeah, because blow it out your mouth, not out your back. Yeah. Yeah. That was the big thing with the neck. And the stuff in general, again, we've talked about this, like the eating well, sleeping well, moving well, and practice what you preach. See a chiropractor regularly. I mean, I've been blessed. I'm married to a chiropractor. I travel with my chiropractor. I mean, I've always been adjusted. It's great. But a lot of solo practitioners out there, they don't have that. So find a partner in chiropractic where you trade on each other and treat each other like real patients, not just a crack. Thanks, man. Like treat them like you would your patient. So.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that's some really good advice. I always tell a chiropractor in their community that you're not competition.
Yeah.
That you should make a list of all the chiropractors in your like community and go out to lunch once a month with a different chiropractor, just to like, you know, one of my mentors would always tell me that we're more alike than we are different. And who knows, you know, the stronger the community is with chiropractic, you don't have to like pretend like everybody's competition or everybody's against you, or everybody's going to try to take your patients, or everybody's going to like, you know, talk bad about you because you're the chiropractor down the street. Like it could be the exact opposite.
Right.
Like you could be like, hey, we have such a strong local community. Like we know each other. We have great relationships with each other. And there is no competition.
Right. And also, well, especially during COVID, for example, I reached out to all the chiropractors and shared what I thought was going on and what we could do to help each other out during this time. And I was really grateful that I already had, I mean, it wasn't strong relationships, because I feel like a lot of chiropractors are like herding cats, but no, it was good that we all communicated with each other and tried to help each other out during that time.
Yeah. Even, you know, as weird as this might sound, it's probably not weird, but like start a little Facebook like group chat with your local like chiropractors to where if there's like a case that somebody needs to like pass on, like, hey, I have like whatever it is, can you help? Or this person's not the right fit for my practice, or would you like them? You know, just that type of like a relationship. I think local community relationship, and then say, hey, let's have an adjusting day at the office.
Right.
You know, like everybody come over, we'll all take care of each other. So I think the stronger the community is, the better, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not to say bad things about other chiropractors. That's another big pet peeve of mine. You know, if you have a problem, say it to their face and help find a solution. Don't just spread bad vibes.
And make people the villain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So what else we got on your end?
I think that was the number one thing, like take care of you first so you can take better care of other people, like you said. And
let's talk about the second topic that you wanted to touch on, is anyone can be a chiro.
Yeah, no matter what your size or your gender, or it's I was really concerned in the very beginning because, like I said, I was a tiny, small female who had, you know, recovered from an illness that made me very weak. And I just made it a priority to be as strong as I could be and to learn as many techniques as I could so I can address pretty much anything anyone brought to me. So where there's a will, there's a way, and where you'll find the energy from the passion of helping people. And I've done this for 24 years and I still love it. And it won't get old. It's a very rewarding profession. So don't shy away from it because of any concerns of your own current physical limitations.
So at this juncture of the interview, what's next for you?
Finding an associate. Just have hopefully one more to add to my forever team, and I won't have to look again. So one more left.
And once again, if people wanted to reach out or work with you or become your associate, where do we send them to?
Drummond Chiropractic at gmail.com. And they can check us out. We're on our drummondchiropractic.com. We have, the tour of our clinic and how we practice. And we're a good team.
Great. Drummond Chiropractic at gmail.com, guys. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to touch on today before we end the interview?
Not at the moment, but I'm sure it'll come up later, and then we'll have to do another one of these.
Yeah. So episode 608, Karin Drummond, we talked about preventing injury, all aspects of the body, physical, chemical, emotional stress. It's a real thing. If we don't address it, it doesn't get better on its own. Build a chiro community around your chiropractic city. And anybody can be a chiro. So with all these awesome things we discussed today, if you're looking to become an associate, reach out at drummondchiropractic at gmail.com. And I'm going to try those copper fit compression socks.
Yes, dude. And tell me what you think.
I will.
All right.
So like I always do, I always close out and I tell everybody, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, Dr. Karin.
Bye. Have a good one.
All right. See you. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.